Hi everyone, welcome to Poisonous People. We're continuing our series on diagnosing narcissistic personality disorder, and in this video we're going to cover the final trait of NPD, arrogance. Now, before I get into the text, I want to share that arrogance happens to be the one NPD trait that I possess. Now, I want to stick to the plan and I want to keep this a diagnostic video. So I'm going to be reading from the DSM as I have in all the other videos. I'm going to be giving you some examples of how arrogance might present itself in everyday interactions with arrogant people, and I will be giving you an insider's look at how arrogance might manifest. And there's one particular way that it manifests for me that you may not have thought about before. So I want to keep this video strictly diagnostic, but I promise I will make other videos soon sharing my background, my story, and how this trait became infused with my personality. So I do not have NPD, but I can kind of understand how narcissistic people might think because of the one trait that I have. I am self-aware and I have been for 15 years. So I've been managing that trait pretty successfully ever since. But let's go to the DSM and see what the text has to say. And so once again, we are on the top of page 670 and we are at number 9, and it simply says shows arrogant, haughty behaviors or attitudes. The one thing I want to say about this is that the key to understanding arrogance is not in the behavior, it is in the attitudes. So before we get any further into this discussion, I want to repeat something I said when I talked about criterion 1, grandiosity, and that is that grandiosity is not the same thing as arrogance. A lot of people get them confused. In video 1, I explained that grandiosity is thinking that you are better than you actually are. Arrogance is thinking that you're better than other people. And so one thing I forgot to mention in the grandiosity video that I'm glad I get to say here is that you can tell that grandiosity and arrogance are not the same thing by the simple fact that they are listed separately. If grandiosity and arrogance were synonyms, there would be no point in listing it twice in the DSM. We would have 8 criteria for narcissism, and the first one would be, is grandiose or arrogant. It would just be a synonym, but they are listed separately, which means they are 2 separate things. So let's first talk a little bit about arrogant behaviors. The first sign that somebody is arrogant is, as everyone knows, bragging. Talking about yourself constantly because you think that you are better than other people, and other people are going to naturally want to hear what you have to say more than these other boring slobs at this party. So a lot of times arrogant people will talk about themselves a little bit too much or a lot too much, and they usually don't have insight into the fact that they're talking about themselves so much. A second sign of arrogance is gossip. Now, I did talk about this in the previous video on envy. I kind of feel like gossip is something that envious people do more because when we're gossiping, we're putting other people down, and it makes us feel better about ourselves when we put other people down. But when it comes to arrogance, I feel like arrogant people will gossip, but they will gossip for different motives. Arrogant people will gossip not to put other people down, but because they already think those people are beneath them, and it just is like a fun pastime to talk about how pathetic all these other people are because, you know, compared to me, they're just sad individuals living sad little lives. So you tend to see an arrogant person gossiping almost for sport or entertainment, whereas an envious person will gossip more because they kind of have to in order to feel better about themselves. So it's a little bit of a different behavior or a different motive behind the same behavior, but arrogant people do gossip. So now I'm going to share with you the third thing that pretty much tells you that somebody is arrogant. And this is an insider secret. This is something that I do. It's something that I can't really help. I mean, I try really hard to cover it up. But that is, arrogant people will give themselves away by the look of shock on their face when other people don't agree that they are the greatest thing since sliced bread. So you'll see this a lot, like if an arrogant person thinks that they're going to get a promotion, or if they think they're going to win an award or win some contest, and then the winners are announced and their name is not called, all you have to do is look at that arrogant person's face, and you will see a look of utter shock on their face because they honestly thought they were the best person there. They honestly thought that they would win. And so when their name isn't called, there's kind of this micro expression of surprise. And then if they're aware of it, and most of them are, they will work hard to cover it up. The main reason I'm going to try to recover is because of the humiliation of knowing like, oops, I thought I was going to get this thing and then I didn't. And it's kind of embarrassing. So shock is going to be one of the number one tells that somebody is arrogant. So those are the behaviors that you want to look for. Next, we want to address the attitudes, because let's face it, a person isn't arrogant just because they act that way. A person is arrogant because they actually have a superior attitude. They actually think they're better than other people. And the reason this is so important is because a lot of people think they're not arrogant if they don't behave that way. I certainly thought that way. I mean, I grew up thinking I'm not arrogant because I don't brag, but I had no awareness that I had these haughty attitudes towards other people. And I kind of looked down on not that I looked down on other people, I just kind of elevated myself above other people, or I just was so happy that I was me and not those other people. My arrogance looks very different than somebody with NPD. Somebody with NPD has other traits that are kind of creating the perfect storm. Somebody who is entitled might be entitled because they're arrogant, or they might be arrogant because they're grandiose. So you might say, well, how does that work for you? Well, for me, I'm not grandiose. You know, if I'm a 6, I know I'm a 6. I'm not going to elevate myself and lie to myself and be deluded and think I'm a 10 when I'm really a 6. But the way my arrogance works is I will say, well, you know, I'm a 6, but I'm the best darn 6 there is. Or for instance, when I was in high school, there was nobody I looked up to. Usually kids in the younger grades have some upperclassmen that they look up to, not me. I just thought one day I'm going to be the person that everybody else looks up to. And there was one girl that I admired. I was a freshman. She was a senior. And so again, there's no grandiosity there. It was just pure arrogance, where I didn't think that I was just as amazing as she was because I'm a freshman and she's a senior. But the way that my arrogance worked was that I would say, you know, she's definitely like way better than I am. She's incredible. She's a senior. She's like, you know, the queen of the school. But when I get to be a senior, I'm going to blow her out of the water. So it was kind of, that's sort of how it would work for me. Just wanted to give you some additional insight coming straight from somebody who has wrestled with this trait. I hope this video helps you understand arrogance a little better. I'm Jen Guerriero, and this is Poisonous People. Thanks for watching.